A country road, an ambulance, sirens blaring, and there, in the middle of it all, a horse, standing firm, unmovable. The paramedics couldn't believe their eyes. Why would this majestic creature risk everything to stop them? What they discovered next left them breathless. It was a crisp autumn morning in rural Kentucky. The sun was just peeking over the rolling hills, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. A gentle mist clung to the fields, creating an almost ethereal landscape. But this peaceful scene was about to be shattered in a way that would leave an entire community forever changed. Suddenly, the quiet was broken by the wail of sirens. An ambulance tore down the winding road, its lights flashing urgently. Inside, paramedics Dave and Sarah raced against time to reach a farmhouse where an elderly man had suffered a heart attack. Every second counted. Every moment could mean the difference between life and death. As they rounded a bend, the road ahead seemed clear. Dave, his hands gripping the steering wheel, allowed himself a moment of relief. They were making good time, but then his heart nearly stopped. There, in the middle of the road, stood a massive chestnut horse. Its muscles rippled under its glossy coat as it planted its hooves firmly on the asphalt. The ambulance screeched to a halt, tires squealing in protest. "What the hell?" muttered Dave, leaning forward, squinting through the windshield. His partner, Sarah, was already reaching for the radio to call for backup. But something stopped her. The horse wasn't panicking. It wasn't trying to run. No! This animal stood its ground, eyes locked on the ambulance. There was an intelligence in that gaze, a purpose that sent chills down Sarah's spine. Dave hit the horn. Once. Twice. The horse didn't even flinch. Its ears merely twitched, as if the blaring noise was nothing more than a mild annoyance. This wasn't normal animal behavior. Something was very, very wrong. "We don't have time for this," Dave growled, his fingers drumming nervously on the steering wheel. "That old man needs us now." The urgency of their mission weighed heavily on both of them. Every moment they sat here, blocked by this horse, was a moment their patience slipped further away. Sarah nodded, her brow furrowed with concern. "I'll try to shoo it away," she said, reaching for the door handle. As a country girl herself, she was no stranger to horses. But as she stepped out of the ambulance, the crisp morning air hitting her face, she realized this was unlike any encounter she'd ever had. The horse's eyes never left her. They were deep, soulful, almost human in their intensity. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. It was as if the animal was trying to communicate, to convey some urgent message that she couldn't quite grasp. Slowly, cautiously, Sarah approached. "Easy there, big fella," she murmured, her voice low and soothing. "We need to get by. There's someone who needs our help." But as she drew closer, the horse let out a whinny that seemed to shake the very air. Sarah froze. This wasn't just any sound. It was a cry, almost human in its desperation, a plea, a call for help that transcended the barriers of species. The paramedics exchanged a look through the ambulance windshield. Something wasn't right here. This horse, it was trying to tell them something. The realization dawned slowly, like the sun creeping over the horizon. They weren't being stopped. They were being summoned. Slowly, cautiously, Sarah took another step forward. The horse's ears pricked forward, its nostrils flaring. And then it took a step back. Just one. But it was enough. Sarah's eyes widened as she saw what the horse had been hiding. There, in the tall grass by the roadside, lay a crumpled figure. A man, face down and motionless. "Dave!" Sarah shouted, her training kicking in as she rushed to the fallen man's side. "Get the kit, now!" As Dave scrambled out with their medical equipment, the truth dawned on them both. This horse, this incredible animal, had been standing guard over its injured owner. Somehow, it had known that help was coming, and it wasn't about to let that help pass by. The next few minutes were a blur of action. The man, they discovered, was barely breathing. He had fallen from the horse during an early morning ride, hitting his head on a rock. Without immediate medical attention, he would have died there, hidden from view, while his faithful companion stood watch. As they worked to stabilize him, the horse never left their side. It stood watch, letting out soft nickers of encouragement. The bond between man and animal was palpable, a testament to years of trust and companionship. Sarah, her hands steady as she applied pressure to the man's wound, couldn't help but marvel at the horse's behavior. "How did you know?" she whispered, more to herself than to the animal. "How did you know we were coming to help?" The horse's only response was to nuzzle gently at its owner's shoulder, as if trying to rouse him. The tenderness of the gesture brought tears to Sarah's eyes. This wasn't just an animal acting on instinct. This was love, pure and simple. As they waited for backup to arrive, Dave found himself scanning the road, looking for any clue as to where the man had come from. "There must be a farm nearby," he muttered. "We should try to contact his family." But Sarah shook her head. "Look at the horse," she said softly. "It's not wearing a saddle or bridle. I think they were out for a bareback ride when this happened." The realization added another layer to the already incredible story. This wasn't just any riding accident. This was a moment of pure freedom, of connection between human and animal that had gone terribly wrong. And yet, even in the face of disaster, that connection had endured. As the minutes ticked by, Sarah found herself talking to the horse, explaining what they were doing, reassuring it that its human would be okay. And to her amazement, the animal seemed to understand. It stood calmly, its eyes never leaving its owner, but allowing the paramedics to work without interference. "You're a hero, you know that," Sarah murmured, reaching out to stroke the horse's velvet nose. "You saved his life today." The horse nickered softly in response, as if acknowledging the praise. But its attention never wavered from its fallen rider. The loyalty on display was breathtaking, a reminder of the depths of animal consciousness that humans so often underestimate. When backup finally arrived to transport the injured rider, the paramedics couldn't help but marvel at what they had witnessed. This horse had not only recognized its owner was in danger, but had the intelligence and devotion to stop an ambulance, the very help its human needed. As they prepared to load the man into the ambulance, a new challenge presented itself. The horse, sensing its human was about to be taken away, became agitated. It paced back and forth, whinnying in distress. "We can't just leave it here," Sarah said, her voice filled with concern. "It's too far from home, and it's clearly distressed." Dave nodded, his mind racing. "I'll call animal control. See if they can bring a trailer. Maybe we can transport it to the hospital somehow." But as they discussed options, something extraordinary happened. The horse, seeming to understand the gravity of the situation, calmed itself. It stood still, watching intently as its owner was carefully loaded into the ambulance. And then, to everyone's amazement, it began to follow. "You've got to be kidding me," Dave muttered, watching in the rearview mirror as a horse trotted behind them, keeping pace even as they began to move. Sarah, her eyes wide with wonder, made a decision. "Slow down," she told Dave. "Let it follow. I have a feeling separating them now would do more harm than good." And so, in a scene that would soon become legend in the small Kentucky town, an ambulance made its way to the hospital, sirens blaring, with a devoted horse trotting steadily behind. Word spread quickly. By the time they reached the hospital, a small crowd had gathered. People lined the streets, cell phones out, capturing the incredible sight. Murmurs of amazement rippled through the onlookers as they witnessed this extraordinary display of animal loyalty. At the hospital, the staff was initially bewildered by the unusual arrival. But as the story unfolded, even the most hardened medical professionals found themselves moved. The horse, still calm but clearly anxious to stay near its human, was eventually led to a nearby field where it could be kept under observation. As the hours ticked by, more and more people arrived at the hospital. News crews set up their equipment, eager to capture this heartwarming tale. But it was the locals who truly understood the significance of what had transpired. Old-timers nodded knowingly, sharing stories of the deep bonds they'd witnessed between humans and animals over the years. Children asked their parents if they could get a horse, their young minds captivated by the idea of such a loyal companion. And animal lovers of all stripes found themselves wiping away tears as they contemplated the depth of connection on display. Inside the hospital, the injured man, whose name they learned was Tom, was fighting for his life. The head injury was severe, and for a time, it seemed as though the horse's heroic efforts might have been in vain. But as the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Tom opened his eyes. His first word, whispered through parched lips, was a name. Buddy. It took the nurses a moment to realize he was asking for his horse. When they told him what had happened, how Buddy had saved his life, Tom's eyes filled with tears. "That's my boy," he murmured, his voice weak but filled with pride. "Always looking out for me." The story spread like wildfire through the county, then the state, and soon the entire country. People spoke in hushed tones about the horse that had saved its owner's life. The local news ran feature after feature, dubbing Buddy the guardian angel horse. National morning shows clamored for interviews, eager to share this tale of interspecies love and loyalty with their viewers. But for Dave and Sarah, the paramedics who had witnessed it all firsthand, no headline could capture the emotion of that moment. The image of that horse, standing resolute in the morning mist, would stay with them forever. It was a reminder that sometimes heroes come in the most unexpected forms. If this story has touched your heart, make sure to subscribe for more incredible tales that remind us of the extraordinary bonds between humans and animals. As the days passed and Tom's condition improved, the impact of Buddy's actions continued to ripple outward. The local animal shelter reported a surge in adoptions as people inspired by the story opened their hearts and homes to pets in need. Schools invited equine therapists to speak about the emotional intelligence of horses, sparking a new generation's interest in animal welfare. Even the medical community took notice. Researchers from nearby universities began to study the potential for animals to recognize and respond to human medical emergencies. The bond between Tom and Buddy became a case study in the power of the human-animal connection. For Tom, the road to recovery was long and challenging. But through it all, Buddy remained a constant presence. The hospital, in an unprecedented move, allowed the horse supervised visits to the rehabilitation garden. Staff and patients alike marveled at the gentle way Buddy would nuzzle Tom's hand, offering silent encouragement as he relearned to walk. "I always knew he was special," Tom said in his first interview, his voice still weak, but his eyes shining with love as he stroked Buddy's mane. "But I never imagined he'd save my life like this. He's not just my horse. He's my best friend." The story of Tom and Buddy sparked conversations about the nature of consciousness, the depths of animal emotion, and the untapped potential of the bonds we share with the creatures around us. Philosophers debated the implications, wondering aloud if we had underestimated the cognitive and emotional capacities of the animals we share our world with. But for those who witnessed the events of that fateful day, no academic discussion could capture the simple, powerful truth of what they had seen. A horse had recognized its human was in danger. It had understood that the approaching ambulance meant help, and it had done everything in its power to ensure that help reached its fallen friend. As Tom's strength returned, he and Buddy became local celebrities. Children would stop them on the street, eager to pet the hero horse. But fame wasn't what mattered to either of them. What mattered was the quiet moments. Morning rides as the sun rose over the Kentucky hills, gentle grooming sessions in the barn, the silent understanding that passed between them with just a look. For Sarah and Dave, the experience changed the way they approached their work as paramedics. They became advocates for animal-assisted therapy in emergency situations, sharing their story at conferences and training sessions across the country. "We're taught to focus on the patient," Sarah would say, her voice passionate as she addressed rooms full of fellow first responders. "But that day taught me that sometimes The key to helping the patient might come from an unexpected source. It taught me to be more observant, more open to the world around me, because you never know where help might come from. The once quiet country road, where Buddy had made his stand, became something of a pilgrimage site. People would stop, leaving apples or carrots by the side of the road in tribute. Some swore they could feel a special energy there, a tangible reminder of the extraordinary events that had unfolded. As months passed and the media frenzy died down, Tom and Buddy returned to their quiet life on the farm. But things were different now. There was a deeper appreciation for each moment they shared, a profound gratitude for the second chance they had been given. One crisp autumn morning, almost a year to the day since the accident, Tom rose early. He walked out to the barn, the grass crunching under his feet, his breath visible in the cool air. Buddy nickered softly as he approached, his ears pricking forward in greeting. Tom pressed his forehead to Buddy's, closing his eyes as he breathed in the familiar scent of hay and horse. "What do you say, old friend?" he murmured. "Shall we go for a ride?" Buddy's answer was a gentle nuzzle, a silent affirmation of the bond they shared. As they set off down the road, the rising sun painting the world in gold, Tom felt a profound sense of peace wash over him. This, he realized, was a true gift Buddy had given him. Not just a second chance at life, but a deeper appreciation for the magic that exists in the everyday moments. The quiet understanding between a man and his horse. The beauty of a Kentucky sunrise. The simple joy of being alive and in the presence of a trusted friend. As they rode, Tom's mind drifted to all the people who had been touched by their story. He hoped that in some small way, the tale of a horse's unwavering loyalty had opened hearts and minds, that it had reminded people of the extraordinary capacities of the animals we share our lives with, that it had inspired them to look at the world with fresh eyes, to appreciate the bonds that tie us all together. Because in the end, that was the real miracle. Not just that a horse had saved a man's life, but that in doing so, it had revealed a profound truth about the nature of love, loyalty, and the interconnectedness of all living things. So the next time you're driving down a country road and see a horse in a field, remember this tale. Remember Buddy, standing resolute in the morning mist, refusing to let help pass by. Remember Tom, given a second chance at life by the devotion of his four-legged friend. And perhaps, just perhaps, you'll look at the world a little differently. You'll see the potential for heroism in unexpected places. You will appreciate the deep wells of emotion that exist in the animals around us. And you'll be reminded that sometimes the truest forms of love and loyalty transcend the boundaries of species. For in a world that can sometimes feel cold and uncaring, stories like these, they're the ones that keep our faith in the power of connection alive. They remind us that heroes can come in all shapes and sizes, even with four legs and a mane. And they show us that the bonds we forge with the creatures who share our lives are not just meaningful, but sometimes quite literally life-saving. As for Buddy, he remains ever vigilant, ever loyal. A silent guardian, ready to stand between his human and any danger that might come. A living reminder that love, in its purest form, knows no bounds. And so, as the sun sets on this tale, we're left with a simple yet profound truth. In the great tapestry of life, the threads that connect us, human and animal alike, are stronger and more beautiful than we could ever imagine. All we need to do is open our eyes, open our hearts, and recognize the miracles that surround us every day. Remember this story. Share it. Let it inspire you to look at the world with new eyes, to appreciate the silent heroes who walk or trot among us. For in doing so, we honor not just Buddy and Tom, but all the extraordinary bonds that make life richer, deeper, and infinitely more meaningful. In the end, it's not just a story about a horse and a man. It's a story about all of us and the incredible capacity for love and loyalty that exists in every beating heart, whether human or animal. It's a reminder that true heroism knows no species, that love speaks a universal language, and that sometimes the most profound connections are forged in silence. As this tale comes to a close, let it be a beacon of hope in a sometimes chaotic world. Let it remind us that even in our darkest moments, there may be a silent guardian watching over us, ready to stand between us and harm. And let it inspire us to be that guardian for others, to stand resolute in the face of adversity, to be the buddy in someone else's story. For in the grand tapestry of existence, it's these moments of connection, of unwavering loyalty and selfless love, that truly define us. They are the threads that bind us together, human and animal alike, in a shared journey through this miraculous thing we call life. So the next time you pass a field and see a horse standing tall, remember, buddy, remember the power of loyalty, the depth of animal consciousness, and the extraordinary possibilities that exist when we open our hearts to the world around us. And perhaps, just perhaps, you'll find yourself looking at your own animal companions with new eyes. You'll see not just a pet, but a sentient being capable of deep emotion, unwavering loyalty, and yes, even heroism. You will recognize the silent conversations that pass between you, the unspoken bond that transcends words. In this fast-paced world, where technology often seems to isolate us from the natural world, stories like Buddies serve as a powerful reminder. They call us back to something primal, something essential in our nature. They remind us of the deep connections we share with the animal kingdom, connections that have shaped our evolution and continue to enrich our lives in countless ways. If this story has touched your heart, if it has made you see the world a little differently, don't let that feeling fade. Carry it with you. Let it inform your interactions not just with animals, but with all living beings. For in recognizing the capacity for love, loyalty, and heroism in a horse, we open ourselves to seeing those same qualities in unexpected places all around us. As we conclude this extraordinary tale, let's take a moment to reflect. Think of the animals in your own life. The loyal dog who greets you each day with unbridled joy. The cat who seems to sense when you're feeling down and offers a comforting purr. The horse who carries you not just on its back, but into a world of freedom and connection with nature. These are not just pets. They are companions on our journey through life. They are teachers, showing us the power of living in the moment. They are healers, offering comfort and unconditional love. And yes, as Buddy showed us, they can be heroes, capable of extraordinary acts of courage and devotion. So let this story be more than just a heartwarming tale. Let it be a call to action, a call to appreciate the animals in our lives more deeply, a call to protect and advocate for those who cannot speak for themselves, a call to recognize the intricate web of life that connects us all and to treat every strand of that web with respect and reverence. For in the end, the story of Buddy and Tom is not just their story. It's our story. It's the story of the profound bond between humans and animals, a bond that has shaped our past and holds the key to a more compassionate, connected future. As you go about your day, carry this story with you. Let it open your eyes to the everyday miracles that surround us. Let it remind you of the extraordinary capacities of the creatures we share this planet with. And let it inspire you to be the best version of yourself, loyal, brave, and ever ready to stand up for those in need. For in a world that often seems divided, it's these connections, these bonds of love and loyalty that transcend species, that have the power to unite us. They remind us of our shared capacity for compassion, our common need for love and understanding. So here's to Buddy, the hero horse who showed us the true meaning of loyalty. Here's to Tom, whose life was saved by the extraordinary bond he shared with his four-legged friend. And here's to all of us, human and animal alike, bound together in this great adventure of life. May we never underestimate the power of these bonds. May we always appreciate the silent heroes who walk among us. And may we strive each day to be as loyal, as brave, and as true as a horse who stood steadfast in the morning mist, refusing to let help pass by. For in the end, it's not our words that define us. It's our actions. It's the love we show, the loyalty we demonstrate, the courage we display in the face of adversity. In that sense, perhaps we all have a little bit of Buddy inside us. The question is, will we let that part of ourselves shine? As we close this chapter, let it be the beginning of a new one, a chapter where we look at the world with fresh eyes, where we appreciate the extraordinary and the ordinary, where we recognize the heroes, both two-legged and four-legged, who surround us every day. For in doing so, we don't just honor Buddy's incredible act of heroism. We honor the very essence of what it means to be alive, to be connected, to be part of this grand, interconnected web of life. And who knows, perhaps someday in a moment of need, you'll find your own Buddy standing beside you, ready to face whatever challenges life may bring. Because that's the thing about love and loyalty. They have a way of showing up just when we need them most. So go forth with open eyes and an open heart. Appreciate the animals in your life. Recognize the silent heroes all around you. And above all, strive to be the person your dog or horse or cat or any beloved animal already thinks you are. For in the end, that's the true lesson of Buddy's tale. It's not just about a horse saving a man's life. It's about the extraordinary power of love, loyalty, and connection. It's about the heroes who walk among us on four legs, reminding us every day of the very best parts of ourselves. And that, dear listeners, is a story worth carrying with us always,